सादाय नदिनी चोच्चताकरहानं च कदाचिन्मां प्रेम्णा हृदयो स्फुरा। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Okay, text 8. नाहं तथात्मि यजमान हविर्विताने च्योतद्घृतप्लुतम् अदन् हतभुङ् मुखेन यद्ब्राह्मणस्य मुखतश्चरतो नुघासं तुष्टस्य मयि यवहितैर् Nija karma pakai. I do not enjoy the oblations offered by the sacrifices in the sacrificial fire, which is one of my own mouths, with the same relish as I do the delicacies overflowing with ghee, which are offered to the mouths of the Brahmanas, who have dedicated to me the results of their activities and who are ever satisfied with my prasad. Okay, Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's Anvaya. Yat yatha Styotad. Styotad. What is this? Styotad? Oh, misspelled. Styotad. Ghrita-plutam. Styotadaya. Ksharata. Ghriten plutam. Viloditam. Payasadi. So here, the delicacies overflowing with ghee refer to payasa and so on. Anughasam, pratighasam, rasa aswada purvakam, charataha punjanasya, mayi avahitaihi, samarpitaihi, nija karma pakaihi. निजकर्मणां पाकैः फलैः तुष्टस्य निष्कामस्य ज्ञानिनः ब्राह्मणस्य मुखतः अश्नामि. I eat from the mouths of brahmanas who are without material desires and who are realized souls and who are satisfied, who offer unto me the mature results of all their pious activities while they eat morsel after morsel, tasting the sweetness of payasa and other such foodstuffs which are overflowing with ghee. Vitane yagye yajamana havihi, yajamanasya havihi. Charu purodasha adi. Utabhuk mukhena, utabhuk agni, tena mukhena, adan. Ashnanapi na tatha admi, ashnami. So, to the extent I eat through those brahmanas, I do not eat when various oblations are offered under the direction of a sponsor, Yajamana. Through the mouth of Agni, the sacrificial fire. Yataha Brahmanaha mama shreshtham mukham. Because the Brahmana is my best mouth, literally. He Dvijagan, Ami Javge, Agni Roop Mukhandwara, Jajamaner Hobi, Arthat, Choru, O Pistakadi, Bhojan Korileo. Now there are certain items which are offered in the sacrificial fire. Charu, and certain types of cakes, and so on. So even though I eat these when they're offered by the Yajaman, the sponsor, through my mouth in the form of Agni, in a fire sacrifice, Bhojan Korleo, जे सकल ज्ञानी निष्काम ब्राह्मण अमाते कर्मफल समर्पण करिया तुष्ट. Still, there are those realized brahmanas without material desires, and they are simply satisfied by offering the results of their pious activities to me. Tahara pratighase, pratigrase, rasa aswadan purvak hrita pakva payas adi bhojan kare. when they eat payas and other such uh, foods which are cooked in ghee, after relishing them morsel after morsel, তাহাদের মুখে আমার যেরূপ পরিতৃপ্ত ভোজন হয়, অগ্নিমুখ দ্বারা ভোজনে তদ্রূপ তৃপ্তি হয় না. I don't attain a degree of satisfaction by eating through my mouth uh, in the form of Agni than when I'm eating through the mouth in the form of these Brahmanas. Saratadashi. एवमहं ब्राह्मणान् सेवे ब्राह्मणानेव सेवे मद्दृष्ट्या च ये ब्राह्मणान् सेवमाना भवेयुः ते एव मत्सेवकाः. यतः ब्राह्मणमुखेन एव अहं भुञ्जे इत्याह नाहमिति. So therefore I serve these brahmanas. I only serve these brahmanas, and those who serve the brahmanas, according to my perspective, they are the ones who are actually my servants, because I eat only through the mouths of these brahmanas. This is conveyed in the current verse. Nahamit. Yajamanache havischaru purodashagi uta bhugagnihi tena mukhena adan ashtan nabi tatha nagni tatha yatha brahmanasya mukhatah mukhena anughasam pratighasam प्रतीघासम् एव श्रोतद्भिरुक्तं व्याप्तं अत्रापि अनुवर्तनीयं चरतः भुञ्जानस्य मयि समर्पितैः कर्मफलैः पुष्टस्य इत्यनेन तथा विप्राणां देवदेवानां भगवान् आत्मदैवतम् इति अग्रिमवाक्येन ब्राह्मणस्य भक्तिराहत्ये सति अपूज्यत्वम् अभिव्यज्य स्वपाकम् इव नेक्ष्येत लोके विप्रम वैष्णव इत्यादि वचनविरोधः परिहृतः. So here the statement that that person is satisfied with the results of his actions offered to me, that from that it is understood that the Supreme Lord himself is the object of worship for the Vipras, the Supreme Personality of God, who is the God of the gods. He is himself the very deity of the Vipras. And this will be stated a little later, text 18. And from this we come to the conclusion that if a Brahmana is devoid of devotion to Lord Vishnu, then he is not worshipable. So then on top of that, there is also another statement that one should not even look at a Vipra who is not a Vaishnava as if he is a dog eater. So from that, certain things become very clear, that when we talk about these Vipras, we're talking of Vipras who are Vaishnavas. Avaishnavam Vaishnava vidveshinamiti tatrartha drashtavya. Here, Avaishnava means one who is hateful of the Vaishnavas. Evam cha bhakti mishra swadharma vaneva brahmano bhavati yatha vasishtavihi. So those who are engaged in their swadharma by mixing it with some Vishnu bhakti, they are the ones who are referred to as Brahmanas, such as Vasishtha. Bhaktaihi kaivalye pradhanye sati. Jatya Brahmana api Vaishnava eva uchyate yathashi Naradadihi iti vivechaniyam. And then there are those who are by birth Brahmana, and their engagement in bhakti is that of the Kevala type or the Pradhanibhuta type. And those ones, they are simply referred to as Vaishnavas. They are not referred to as Brahmanas. They are referred to as Vaishnavas. Like, for instance, Sri Narada. The devotee of the Lord or the Vaishnava does not take anything without offering it to the Lord. Since the Vaishnava dedicates all the results of his activities to the Lord, he does not taste anything eatable which is not first offered. The Lord also relishes giving to the Vaishnava's mouth eatable, all eatables offered. It's clear from this verse that the Lord eats through the sacrificial fire and the Brahmana's mouth. So many articles, grains, ghee, etc., are offered in sacrifice for the satisfaction of the Lord. The Lord accepts sacrificial offerings from the Brahmanas and devotees. Elsewhere, it is stated that whatever is given for the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas to eat is also accepted by the Lord. But here it is said that he accepts where is it? Offerings to the mouths of Brahmanas and Vaishnavas with even greater relish. The best example of this is found in the life of Advaita Prabhu in his dealings, capital H, with Haridas Thakur. Even though Haridas was born of a Mohammedan family, Advaita Prabhu offered him the first dish of prasad after the performance of the sacred fire ceremony. Haridas Thakur informed him that he was born of a Mohammedan family and asked why Advaita Prabhu was offering the first dish to a Mohammedan instead of an elevated Brahman. Out of his humbleness, Haridas condemned himself as a Mohammedan. But Advaita Prabhu, being an experienced devotee, accepted him as a real Brahman. Advaita Prabhu asserted that by offering the first dish to Haridas Thakur, he was getting the result of feeding 100,000 Brahmins. The conclusion is that if one can feed a Brahmana or Vaishnava, it is better than performing hundreds of thousands of sacrifices. In this age, therefore, it is recommended that Harer Nama, chanting the holy name of God, and pleasing the Vaishnava are the only means to elevate oneself to spiritual life. Okay. 9. येषां बिभर्म्यहम् अखण्ड विकुण्ठ योग माया विभूतिरमलाङ्घ्रि रजः किरीटैः विप्रांस्तु को न वेषहेत यद्दर्हणाम्भः सद्यः पुनाति सह चन्द्र ललामलोकान्. And the master of my unobstructed internal energy and the water of the Ganges is the remnant left after my feet are washed. That water sanctifies the three worlds along with Lord Shiva, who bears it on his head. If I can take the dust of the feet of the Vaishnava on my head, who will refuse to do the same? Anvaya. Akhanda Vikuntha Yoga Maya Vibhuti. Akhandaha. Anavachinna. Vikunta. No. Khanda. Annavachinna. Vikuntha. Apratihata. Yogamaya Vilasabhuta. Vibhuti. Yasyasa. The Supreme Lord's opulence of Yogamaya is unobstructed, and it is also uninterrupted in its influence. Yad arhanambha yasya padodakam ganga. Okay. Yad arhanambha yasya padodakam ganga. Sahachandra lalamaloka. Chandraha lalamam chinnam yasya tena ishwarena shivena sahitan sarvan lokan sadhyaha punati. It is the water that has washed my feet, that actually purifies everyone, including Chandrasekhara, Lord Shiva, who has the moon as an insignia. Evam Parameshwara Parama Pavanaha api. So in this way, even though I am the Supreme Lord and I am the Supreme Purifier, Aham Yesham Brahmananam Amala Anghri Rajaha Amalam Pavitram Anghri Rajaha Charana Renam Kiritaihi Bibharmi Dharayami. I hold the dust from the feet that is very pure from the Brahmanas on my helmets. Tan Vipra Apakurvataha api Brahmanam no kah anya na vishaheta na kshamyat. Even when they do something wrong, who will not tolerate them or forgive them? अनुवाद जे আমার পবিত্র পাদোদক शशि शेखर महादेवेर सहित लोकपाल सकल के सत्य पवित्र करे. The pure water that has touched my feet, that immediately purifies, the Lokapala demigods, including Mahadev, Chandrasekhar. सही अनवच्छिन्ना एवं अप्रतिहत गति विशिष्टा योगमाया विभूतिर ईश्वर. I am that Lord of the opulence of Yogamaya, whose movement is unobstructed and uninterrupted. Param Pavan Hoya Wo, and even though I am supremely purified, Ami Jahader Pada Padma Sthita Nirmala Renu Amar Mastakasta Mukute Dharan Kori, and I hold on my helmet the spotless dust that is found in the lotus feet of these Vipras. Sei Vipragon, Kono Upakar Kurileo, Taha Kena Sajja Kurile, who will not tolerate the Vipras when they engage in some apakara, some wrongdoing. Kimcha Brahmana Krita Atikrama api Shodhavya eva. A transgression by a Brahmana should be certainly tolerated, not to pratikartavya. It should not be, one should not do anything against it. Should not be, one should not react towards it. One should not try to correct it and so on. Ityaha yeshamati viprana apukupataha api kona saheta api to sarvaeva. So who will refuse to do the same means everybody will tolerate. Tatra karna jigyasayam swa kiritam tarjanya darshayam. So if that question is asked, why is this so? So then the Supreme Lord, with his forefinger, he points out to his crown and he speaks and he says this. Yesham Angriraja Kiritair Aham Vivarni Yadharana Prasadat Akunta Yogamaya Sampatiraham Abhuvam. By holding the dust of their feet on my helmet, I have become filled with the treasure of Yogamaya that is not disturbed in any manner. Yasya Mama Arpanambha Sharanodakam Chandra Ramena Mahadevena Saitan Lokan Sadhya Prati Tena Yo Macharana Rajo Murthani Dhate Tasyeva Charanamritam Grahyam Na Anyasya Iti. So then my foot water, it purifies all the worlds and Lord Shiva. So one should take the foot water of that one who puts the Brahmana's dust on his head. See, I am doing this, therefore the water is pure. This is how the Lord is presenting. The difference between the internal and external energies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is that in the internal energy or in the spiritual world, all the opulences are undisturbed, whereas in the external or material energy, all the opulences are temporary manifestations. So Lord's supremacy is equal in both the spiritual and material worlds. But the spiritual world is called the kingdom of God, and the material world is called the kingdom of Maya. Maya refers to that which is not actually fact. The opulence of the material world is a reflection. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita that this material world is just like a tree whose roots are up and branches down. This means that the material world is the shadow of the spiritual world. Real opulence is in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, the predominating deity is the Lord himself, whereas in the material world, there are many lords. That is the difference between the internal and external energies. The Lord says that although he is the predominating factor of the internal energy and although the material world is sanctified just by the water that has washed his feet, he has the greatest respect for the Brahmana and the Vaishnava. When the Lord himself offers so much respect to the Vaishnava and the Brahmana, how can one deny such respect to such personalities? Okay, then 10. ये मे तनुर्विजवरा दुहतीर्मदीया भूतान्यलब्ध शरणानि च भेद बुद्ध्या द्रक्ष्यन्त्यखक्षतदृशो ह्यहिमन्यवस्तान् गृध्रा रुषा मम पुष्यन्त्यधिदण्डनेतुः. The Brahmanas, the cows, and the defenseless creatures are my own body. Those whose faculty of judgment has been impaired by their own sin look upon these as distinct from me. They are just like furious serpents, and they are angrily torn apart by the bills of the vulture like messengers of Yamaraj, the superintendent of sinful persons. Ye janaha yujavara brahmana shrestha madiyaha dukatihi tautrihi gaha alabdha sharanani rakshaka hinani bhutani cha me mama tanuhu adhishthanani भेद बुद्धिया मद अधिष्ठानम न भवन्ति इति पृथक दृष्टिया द्रक्ष्यन्ति पश्यन्ति. There are some persons who do not notice that the best of the twice born, that means the best of the brahmanas, the cows, creatures who are without any protectors, all of whom belong to me. So they do not understand that they are my bodies, which means I am present in them. With the Bheda Buddhya, with an idea that they are not places of residences for the Supreme Lord. They consider that these are separate from him. Aghakshata drishaha. Aghena papena kshata nashta drishtihi yesham tam. So they have a sinful vision. Their vision is their proper vision is destroyed through such a sinful attitude, sinful misconception. Tan purushan hi nishchitam mama madiyaha adhidanda netu adhikritah dandaneta यह यमः तस्य अहिमन्यवः अहे सर्पस्य इव मन्युः येषां ते गृध्राः गृध्र आकाराः दूताः वृषा क्रोधेन कुशन्ति चञ्चुभिः छिन्दन्ति. So these personalities, they are certainly the objects of punishment. In fact, out of anger, the messengers of Yamaraj have the form of vultures. They, with their beaks, they cut them into pieces. These, and Yamaraj himself is the one who has been empowered by the Lord to award all punishments. Acharaban Brahman, दुग्धवती गाभी एवं रक्षकहीन प्राणी, ये तीनटी आमार शरीर स्थानीय. A brahmana who behaves appropriately, a milk-giving cow, and living creatures who are without protectors. These three, they are like my body. Ihadike jahara vedabuddhi dara darshan kare. Those who have a vision of distinction regarding them. अर्थात ताहादिगेर मध्य आमार अधिष्ठान नाय, or those who consider that my presence is not in them. यही रूप विवेचनाय पृथक दृष्टि द्वारा दर्शन करे. So with such a conception, those who see with the vision of separateness, tahade drishti pape binashta hoyache, their proper vision has been destroyed by sin. Amar adhikrita dandan नेता जमेर वृद्ध आकार दूतगण सर्पवत रोष परिपूर्ण. So these, so I have my official appointed supervisor of punishments, Yama, and he has messengers who have the shape of vultures, and they are as angry as serpents. And that also came here. Ahimanyava, hey sarpasyeva manyehu yeshanti. They are as angry as serpents. रोष परिपूर्ण होइया चंचु द्वारा चक्कु और गात्र मांस सकल छेदन करिया था. So they cut the eyes and the bodily flesh of these persons. They keep doing it. Chedan Korea dhake. They keep doing. ब्राह्मण कृत अतिक्रम अहस्यहिष्णुना का वार्ता ब्राह्मणेषु मद्बुद्धि भेद दर्शन एव नारकिना इत्याह. What to speak of those who do not tolerate the transgression of a brahmana, those who simply have a vision of separateness uh, regarding me in the brahmanas. They themselves are residents of hell. ये जना मे तनु मम देहरूपा दुःखती दोध्री गा इत्यर्थः. दुःखत्री इति पाठे गा एव विष्णुरूपात् सूर्यात् उत्पन्नत्वात् सूर्यसुताश्च गावः इति वचनात्. Now there's an alternate reading here. Instead of dukhati, duhitri. Duhitri appears sometimes. In that case, then that also is a reference to the cow only, because the cow, it came from Surya, which is a form of Vishnu. So therefore, the cows are considered to be daughters of the sun. Alabdha Sharnani Anathani, and when there are orphaned creatures, they're all like the bodies of the Lord. भेद बुद्धिया मत्तनवहन भवन्ति पृथग्दृष्ट्या ये द्रक्ष्यन्ति तान् मदीयः अधिकृतः खण्डनेता यो यमस्तस्य गृथ आकारा ये दूता हिमन्यवः रुषा क्रोधेन कुष्यन्ति नेत्र आदिषु चञ्चु छिन्दन्ति. saw that. The defenseless creatures, according to Srimad Bhagavatam, are cows, brahmanas, women, children, and old men. Of these five, the brahmanas and cows are especially mentioned in this verse because the Lord is always anxious about the benefit of the brahmanas and the cows and is prayed to in this way. Therefore, the Lord especially instructs that no one should be envious of these five, especially the cows and brahmanas. In some of the Bhagavatam readings, the word duhitri is used instead of duhati, but in either case, the meaning is the same. Duhati means cow, and duhitri can also be used to mean cow because a cow is supposed to be the daughter of the sun god. Just as children are taken care of by the parents, women as a class should be taken care of by the father, husband, or grown up son. Those who are helpless must be taken care of by their respective guardians. Otherwise, the guardians will be subjected to the punishment of Yamaraj, who is appointed by the Lord to supervise the activities of sinful living creatures. The assistants or messengers of Yamaraj are likened here to vultures, and those who do not execute their respective duties in protecting their wards are compared to serpents. Vultures deal very seriously with serpents. Similarly, the messengers will deal very seriously with neglectful guardians. 11. Ye brahmanan maidhiya क्षिपतोर्चयन्तस्तुष्यद्धृदः स्मितसुधोक्षितपद्मवक्त्राः वाण्यानुरागकलयात्मजवद् गृणन्तः सम्बोधयन्त्यहमिवाहमुपहृतस्तैः. On the other hand, they captivate my heart, who are gladdened in heart, and who, their lotus faces enlightened by nectarian smiles, respect the Brahmanas, even though the Brahmanas utter harsh words. They look upon the Brahmanas as my own self and pacify them by praising them in loving words, even as a son would appease an angry father. or as I am pacifying you. Anvay, ye janaha क्षिपतः परुषं भाषमाणान् अपि ब्राह्मणान् मयि धिया वासुदेवदृष्ट्या अर्चयन्तः तुष्यद्रुतः प्रियमाणचित्ताः स्मितसुध उक्षित पद्मवक्त्राः स्मितं हास्यमेव सुधा तया उक्षितं सिक्तं पद्मतुल्यं वक्त्रं वदनं येषां ते सन्तः अनुरागकलया प्रेमशोभया वाण्या वाचा अहम यथा भृगुं युष्मान् वा संतोषयामि तथा आत्मजवत् यथा कुपितम् आत्मजं स्निग्धः पिता सत्पुत्रः वा पितरं गृणन्तः स्तुवन्तः संबोधयन्ति संतोषयन्ति तैः अहम् उपाकृतः वशीकृतः भवामि. So there are persons who consider Brahmanas, even when they speak harsh words, they consider these Brahmanas to be Vasudeva, and they honor them with a happy heart. So in other words, they are not duplicitous or diplomatic. And they do that with a smiling face, with a face that seems to, that is wet with, their lotus-like faces are wet with nectar. With affection, they speak various words to them to pacify them. The way how I do, the way how I have done with Bhrigu, or the way I satisfy all of you, the way one deals with one's own son, for instance, an affectionate father, the way he deals with his angry son, or the way a good son deals with a father by glorifying them or praising them, by satisfying them. So I am very much under the loving control of such persons. Ramangan Karkashavakya Prayog Korile, oh, even when Brahmanas use rough words, Jahara Amate Buddhi Sthir Rakhiya, Vasudev Sambandhiye Gyane, Tahader Archana Kore. And there are those who fix their intelligence on me. They consider these Brahmanas to be related to Lord Vasudeva, and they worship them. Evam putravat sasneha vakyadara ami jeru bhrigu ba tomadike santushta kori. And just as I satisfied Bhrigu and all of you with affectionate words, the way one would deal with a son, tadrup krishtachitta o hasyarup sudhasikta mukhapadme tahader stav kare, and with a lotus-like face that is wet with nectar in the form of smiles and with a delighted heart, they praise such angry persons. Tahader kartrikami bashibhutaha. I come under the control of such souls. ये तो कृत अतिक्रमानपि ब्राह्मणान् न प्रतिकृपन्ति प्रत्युत अधिकं प्रसादयन्ति तेषामहमेव वशम्. It's already covered here. ये मयि या धीस्तया भगवद्दृष्ट्या ब्राह्मणा क्षिपतः not purusham parusham parush भाषमानान् अपि अत्यन्तः कटु उक्तिभिः अपि तुष्यदृगः. So even when these brahmanas speak very harsh, bitter words, still one continues to honor them, worship them. Then that is very pleasing to the Lord. Nuraga kalaya, prema vaidam, he, mai, ya, vanya. And they speak words which are intelligently filled with affection. Atmaja, vat, upitam, pitaram, satputra, like A good son speaking to angry father. Grantaha पुरुषम इदम भाषद्वे किंतु परमहितम कृपामृतमेव वर्षथ इति स्तुवन्तः and not purusham bhavishyam. And they tell them, they speak to them very sweetly, means, use an example, says, you are not actually speaking harsh words, but rather you are showering the nectar of your mercy uh, that bestow supreme benefit. So they address them in this manner. Hey Swaminaha, O masters, Hey Kripasindhavaha, O oceans of mercy, Ityadi, Komala Amantranena Krinayanti. They satisfy them with such tender invitations, addresses. Aham iva yushman bhrugum tair aham upakritah vashikritah. The way I have dealt with all of you, or the way with Bhrigu. So when a person deals in this manner, I come under his control. It has been observed in many instances in the various scriptures that when the Brahmanas or Vaishnavas curse someone in an angry mode, the person who is cursed does not take it upon himself to treat the Brahmanas or Vaishnavas in the same way. There are many examples of this. For instance, the sons of Kuvera, when cursed by the great sage Narada, did not seek revenge in the same harsh way, but submitted. Here also, when Jaya and Vijay were cursed by the four Kumaras, they did not become harsh towards them. Rather, they submitted. That should be the way of treating Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. One may sometimes be faced with a grievous situation created by a Brahmana, but instead of meeting him with a similar mood, one should try to pacify him with a smiling face and mild treatment. Brahmanas and Vaishnavas should be accepted as earthly representatives of Narayana. Nowadays, some foolish persons have manufactured the term Daridra Narayana, indicating that the poor man should be accepted as the representative of Narayana. But in Vedic literature, we do not find that poor men should be treated as representatives of Narayana. Of course, those who are unprotected are mentioned here in a previous verse, but the definition of this phrase is clear from the Shastras. The poor man should not be unprotected, but the Brahmana should especially be treated as the representative of Narayana and should be worshipped like him. It is specifically said that to pacify the Brahmanas, one's face should be lotus like. A lotus like face is exhibited when one is adorned with love and affection. In this respect, the example of the fathers being angry at the son and the sons trying to pacify the father with smiling sweet words is very appropriate. 12. Tanme swabhartarav. Something is wrong. Screen is not shared. Since when? Since more than half an hour. These kind of things somebody should shout out and tell me.
Questions are also there.
Wait. Something is in the chat box. How the Lord eats through the mouth of the Brahmanas. The Brahmanas are his representatives, so when the Brahmanas eat, the Lord considers that he is eating. Whereas in the material world, there are many lords. How many lords are there? There are so many demigods. There's a whole hierarchy of cosmic governance. That is what is referred to. Okay, Achyutanam.
Prabhu, the question is little bit silly, but I thought to ask. In that verse where Lord mentioned that he eats through Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, so Vaishnavas will take only prasad, which is already offered to Lord. And now again, when they
Brahmanas
will
also
eat,
take Vishnu Prasad. Brahmanas also take Vishnu Prasad. Proper Brahmanas in good standing, they take only Vishnu's Prasad. That's correct only.
yeah. So question is that prasad is already first offered to Lord. Again, second time when the Brahmanas are accepting, how Lord will accept that?
Why not?
It's
Why
already
not?
offered.
It's okay. He accepts it a second time out of affection for them.
Okay. And in the 10th verse, we are helpless Helpless were mentioned, and then neglectful guardians were there, that those who are neglectful guardians, they'll be punished. So does this include spiritually helpless also?
These are
Or
the
only
socially
body?
helpless. What is spiritually helpless?
If I am there and I don't know what to do, how to do things in spiritual life, and if my seniors are there and somehow I am neglected, I'm imagining that sort of case. Or if I am in that position.
Everyone will be taken care of, but this is specifically talking about the ones who are socially neglected even. Lord Vishnu will certainly take care of everyone who's neglected. There's no doubt about that. But this is specifically talking about those who are neglected to such a great extent that they are considered to be social orphans. So those who are neglected both spiritually and materially. Of course, those who are neglected spiritually, Krishna will deal with them also.
So these like beggars are there. So whose responsibility it will be to take care of these beggars? If someone is poor, who will be held responsible for that?
I don't know. These are all well defined. Who's meant by the helpless? The helpless means those who cannot take care of themselves. There are old people, there are small children, women. These are all helpless. It doesn't matter whether they're rich or poor. That status in life automatically makes them helpless. They require others to take care of them. If you're rich, then you have many people to take care of you. Otherwise, you'll need to have other people who take care of you. But by your situation, you are helpless. You cannot take care of yourself. So these people are considered to be helpless from the perspective of Vedic culture.
Okay, bro.
Okay, 12. Tanme swabhaktur avasayam yushmad yatikramaгаతిం प्रतिपत्ति सद्य भूयो ममान्तिकमितां तदनुग्रहो मे यत्कल्पताम् अचिरतो hृतयोर्विवासः. These servants of mine have transgressed against you, not knowing the mind of their master. I shall therefore deem it a favor done to me if you order that, although reaping the fruit of their transgression, they may return to my presence soon, and the time of their exile from my abode may expire before long. Okay. Tat tasmad, अन्वय tat tasmad स्वभर्तु स्वयोः स्वामिनः मे मम अवसायं विप्रायम् अलक्ष्यमाणम् अजानन्तो युष्मद्व्यतिक्रमगतिं युष्मासु यः कृतः व्यतिक्रमः अपराधः तस्य गतिं फलं सद्यः आशु प्रतिपद्य प्राप्य भूयः पुनः मम अन्तिकं तत्समीपम् इतः प्राप्नुताम् इतां प्राप्नुताम् धृतयोः धृतयोः यत् विवासः दूरनिवासः अचिरतः शीघ्रं कल्प्यतां सम्पाद्यतां समाप्यतां तत्स एव मे मयि अनुग्रह युष्माकं कृपा. It would be your mercy upon me if you can uh, if you can uh, make this arrangement that these are I am the master of these two uh, servants of mine. They did not understand my abhipraya or my intention, and they have as a consequence committed an offense. They have transgressed in their code of conduct towards all of you. So if you can make an arrangement that they can quickly come back to me, they will be stationed far away. But if you can quickly make an arrangement so that they can quickly come back to me, that would be your anugraha, favor upon me. অতএব এই দুই ভৃত্য আমার অভিপ্রায় অবগত না হইয়া আপনাদিগের নিকট অপরাধ করিয়াছে. Therefore, these two servants, without understanding my intentions, have committed offenses towards you. ইহারা সেই অপরাধ উচিত গতি সদ্যই প্রাপ্ত হইয়া পুনরায় আমার সন্নিধান প্রাপ্ত হোক. So let them experience immediately the result corresponding to their offenses, and then let them quickly reach my proximity. ভৃত্যদ্বয়ের স্থান ভ্রষ্ট হইয়া অন্যত্র বাস অচিরে সমাপন করিলে, if these two servants of mine, they lose their status and if they are stationed elsewhere and quickly they complete that, and if they quickly complete that, আমার প্রতি যথেষ্ট অনুগ্রহ করা হইবে, that would be complete favor upon me. तत्तस्मात् एवं स्वभर्तुः मम avasayam abhiprayam alakshmano daivada pashyanto. It is by providence that they did not see my intentions. Apashyanto yushmat aparadho chitam gatim sadyah prapya samipam itam punah prapnata iti iyam me prarthana iti bhava. So the implication is, this is my prayer to you, that let them quickly come back to me. Nanu Prabho, an anticipated response. Oh Lord, the Lord considers that they would respond like this. Brahmanatikraminaha mad aparadhinaha eva iti srimukhena swayameva brushe tat katham punarapi tayoho evam snihyasi. You have yourself said that these persons who have transgressed in their code of conduct towards the Brahmanas have actually committed an offense to me. So then again you are affectionate towards them. Tatrasa vaivashyama. Then the Supreme Lord, with feeling, he says, Tad anugraho me. This would be your favor upon me. Yad yasma tatra jaya vijayoho mama anugraha eva natu nigraha iti nahi swabhavika dharmaha tyaktum shakyate bhava. This would be a favor. This would actually, what he's saying is that this would actually be my favor on Jay and Vijay. This is actually something good that I'm doing. This is not punishment. I cannot give up my the nature that is intrinsic to me. That is the implication. Tasman Bhrityayo Bhritayo Bhritayo Vivasaha Vishishtaha Mayasaha Vasaha. They are especially living with me. Acharadeva kalpyatam samatha bhavatu. May they become capable of being in that position once again. The idea is that I cannot control my nature. My nature is to be kind to my servants. This punishment is also my mercy to them. This punishment to Jaya Vijay is also my punishment. From this statement, we can understand how anxious the Lord is to get his servitor back into Vaikuntha. Therefore, this incident proves that those who have once entered a Vaikuntha planet can never fall down. The case of Jaya and Vijay is not a fall down, it is just an accident. The Lord is always possible to get such devotees back again to the Vaikuntha planets as soon as possible. So one can never fall down but there's always a possibility of an accident. It is to be assumed that there is no possibility of a misunderstanding between the Lord and the devotees, but when there are discrepancies or disruptions between one devotee and another, one has to suffer the consequences, although that suffering is temporary. The Lord is so kind to his devotees that he took all the responsibility for the government's offense and requested the saints to give them facilities to return to Vaikuntha as soon as possible. How Brahmanas are helpless? No. See, there are three different categories that he's dealing with. The Brahmanas, the Brahmana of good conduct, the cow that gives milk, and the helpless. There are three different categories that the Lord is talking about. Achyutam Nam Prabhu.
Prabhu, so like I am in material world, but I was initially there with Lord, and this is not a fall down, it's an accident.
No. The accident is that one might commit some offense like this. It is not natural and normal.
So someone can state this purport and then say, see here Prabhupada is saying, once entering Vaikuntha, one never falls down.
Mhm. And he
So
also
we
has written other reports where he explains that all the living entities in the material world have fallen from the spiritual world. They've not fallen the way you normally fall when you go to some demigod planet. You'll be kicked out. You have to fall. But going to Vaikuntha is not like that. You go to Vaikuntha, then you're allowed to be there as long. It's eternal. It is an eternal abode. Now, if you have to leave Vaikuntha, you will have to do something about it. Prabhupada himself says elsewhere that you have to force Krishna to accept. So only when that happens, then the living entity falls into the material world. It is not a natural, easy process. Is my audio okay?
yes, Prabhu.
Because Achyut
Okay.
Mahaprabhu is unmute. That's why the sound is. Sorry, Achyut Mahaprabhu should be muted.
Okay. Fine. Okay. 13. Brahmovachi. अथ तस्योषतीं देवीं ऋषिकुल्यां सरस्वती नास्वाद्यमन्युदष्टानां तेषाम् आत्माप्यतृप्यत. Brahma continued, even though the sages had been bitten by the serpent of anger, their souls were not satiated by hearing the Lord's lovely and illuminating speech, which is like a series of Vedic hymns. Anvaya, Sri Brahma Vachi. Sri Brahma said, Atha Shaktim Kamaniyam Priyam Devim Yotamanam Pujyam Cha Rishi Kulyam Rishi Kulaya Hitam Rishinam Kulyam Jalashaya Rupam Cha Rishayaha Mantraha Tat Pravaha Rupam Va Rishi Kula Yogyam Va Tasya Hare Saraswatim Vacham Nadim Cha Aswadya Tan Madhuryam Anubhuya. So these sages, when they experienced the sweetness of the Saraswati, or which means the words, which itself was like a flow of nectar, that was for the benefit of the entire community of the rishis. That was like uh, a flow of mantras that are recited by the rishis, or which were like the sort of speech that is appropriate for the community of rishis, and which were shining as worshipable words and very pleasing to hear. Manyudashtanam sarpaprayenam manyuna krodhena dashtanam. Krodha visham yaptanam api, though they were poisoned by the anger, poisoned by anger, upon being bitten by uh, the serpent in the form of anger itself. Tesham atma manaha na atrupyata alam alam iti na amanyata. Their selves, their minds, they were not satiated. They never felt this was enough. অনুবাদ শ্রী ব্রহ্মা কহিলেন, যদিও ঋষিগণ সর্পের ন্যায় মহাক্রোধ বিষ দ্বারা ব্যাপ্ত হইয়াছিলেন, even though Sri Brahma said, even though sages, they were filled with the poison of great anger that was like a serpent. তথাপি ভগবানের এইরূপ কমনীয় মধুর উজ্জ্বল এবং যোগ্য বাক্য শ্রবণ করিয়া, upon hearing these appropriate words that were shining with pleasant sweetness coming from Bhagavan, তাহাদের চিত্ত তৃপ্তি লাভ করিতে পারলেন। Their minds would not become satiated, অর্থাৎ তাহাদের শ্রবণেচ্ছা আরো বৃদ্ধিপ্রাপ্ত হইতে লাগিল। Their desire to hear him continued to increase more and more. Saraswatim Vanim Nadim Cha Ushatim Kamaniyam Pakshe Swachham Devim Muninam Buddhya Vividha Vitarkadi Maya Saha Kridantim Pakshe Pujyam Rishikulaya Hitam Pakshe Rishinam Kulyam Jala Asherupam Aswadya Adhuryam Anubhuya. So the words spoken by the Supreme Lord are very pleasant. Those words were compared to a flow of nectar, a very clear flow. It was very transparent flow, like a river. It is described as Devim, which means that it was playing with the intelligence of these sages by invoking various forms of conjectures in their minds. It also indicates that those words were worshipable. Rishikulaya Hitam, these were beneficial for the entire community of sages. It was like a body of water on the banks of the residence of the sages, so that they can refresh themselves. Manyana sarpatulyena dashtanam krodha visha vyaptanam manaha rasa anubhava abhava priya bhashanam api asahadye. तेषां तु आत्मा अपि बुद्धिः अपि मनः अपि न अतृप्यत अलम इति न अमन्यत. For those who do not experience the sweetness of rasa, their minds do not tolerate even sweet talk. But for these sages, their minds were not satiated with this. Tatra tesham maha anutapatve api yan manyu sarpa vishya an apagamaha tad bhakta aparadasya durvaratvam eva gyapayat. Even though they had repented greatly, the poison of the serpent of anger had not gone away. So this informs us that when one commits an offense to the devotee of the Lord, then the reaction to that offense is unavoidable. Satyapi tadrishe bhakta aparade yaha bhagavad charana tulasi gandha adi madhurya anubhava sa khalu brahman atikrama anantaram anuttaptayo daya vijayo ya teshu kripa tad nugaminya bhagavad kripaya bhavameva vyapayat. Despite this offense towards these devotees, the sweetness, the experience of the sweetness of the fragrance and so on coming from the tulasi that was placed on the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord that brought about an influence in them, because of which they had compassion for Jay and Vijay, who were repentant also after committing transgression towards the Brahmanas. They were repentant. So now, then following these sages' mercy on them, there was the mercy of the Supreme Personality of God. Ataha यदि येषां भक्त अपराधः न अभविष्यत् तदा भक्त भगवतोः कृपापात्री भूतानां येषां शुद्ध दास्य प्रेम एव अजनिष्यत् तस्मात् अपराध सद्भावात् शान्तभक्तत्वे एव येषाम् अभूत्. Because, okay, this is a very interesting point. If these Kumaras had not committed an offense to these devotees, then they would have developed, they would have first of all become recipients of the mercy of both the bhaktas and Bhagavan, and they would have attained pure dasya prema. But because of this offense, they were only fixed in shanta bhakti. Yaduktam bhavopi abhavam ayati krishna preshta paradhatah abhasatam cha sanakaihi nyuna jati yatamapi. When one commits an offense against a very dear devotee of the Lord, the dearest devotee of Krishna, then bhava gets destroyed if the offense is great. Otherwise, if the offense is light, then bhava will attain a lower grade. So that means from Vatsalya, it goes down to Sakhya, from Sakhya it goes down to Dasya, Dasya it goes down to Shanta. 14. Okay, wait, I thought there was something in the chat box. Those who have once entered a Vaikuntha planet can never fall down, but we hear there is chances of fall down because of free will. Yes, yes, correct. They do not normally fall down, but if you want, you can. That is a separate consideration. But that environment is not designed for, it's not a fallible environment. Achyutanam Prabhu.
Prabhu, can you please explain a little more this line that reaction to offense committed against a devotee unavoidable? When this explanation was coming that even though the four sages were repenting, they are cursing, still effects of anger were present. So how
Yes.
these effects of anger were still present, I could not understand.
That anger did not go away because they had committed an offense. If you commit an offense, then you have to experience the consequence of that. That is what.
Means they were still angry.
Yeah, they still had some anger.
And did they also repented? Because Jai Vijaya is repenting, but I missed, I think, when sages are repenting.
I think the sages also repented. I think the sages also repented.
Okay. Okay, bro.
Okay, 14. Satim vyadaya shunvanto lagvim guruvartha gahvaram vigahya gatha gambhiram na vidus tachikirshittam. The Lord's excellent speech was difficult to comprehend because of its momentous import and its most profound significance. The sages heard it with wide open ears and pondered it as well. But although hearing, they could not understand what he intended to do. Yadaya prasarya karnam tatva satim shreshtham lagvim itaksharam guruartha gahvaram gurubhihi arthaihi gahvaram dushpravesham agada gambhiram abhiprayena agadham arthena gambhiram vacham shrinvantaha. So now the Munayaha, the sages they had heard these words of the Lord with wide open ears. Now those words were excellent, Satim. They were concise, lagvim, with a moderate number of syllables. And they were the deep import of those words were inaccessible. Guru Artha Gahwara. They were very grave. Even though his intentions were exposed, still it was presented with much gravity. Agadha Gambhira, Shrimantaha, Munayaha, Vigahya, Vicharya api. So despite their deliberation, that Chikirshitam, Dasya Hare Abhipraya, Na Viduhu, Gyatavanta, they could not understand the actual import of Lord Hari. अनुवाद ताहारा मनोनिवेश पूर्वक कर्ण प्रसारण कोरिया अल्पाक्षर अथच अर्थ परिपूर्ण गंभीर दुष्प्रवेश्य दुर अवगाह मर्मयुक्त सुमधुर भगवत वाक्य श्रवण पूर्वक विचार करियाओ भगवान की আমাদিকে প্রশংসা করিতেছেন অথবা আমরা যে দণ্ড বিধান করিয়াছি তাহারই সংকোচ করিতেছেন ভগবানের এতদ বিষয়ক গূঢ় অভিপ্রায় বা কি তাহা কিছুই বুঝিতে পারিলেন না. So with attention they had spread their ears and they had heard the statements of Bhagavan which were which were very concise, filled with several important teachings, and it was very much grave with its purport inaccessible, and the deep intentions behind those statements were not fully accessible. They were also very sweet. So despite their deliberation, they could not understand the deep intention of the Lord. They were not clear. Is Bhagavan praising us or we had punished these servants? Is the Supreme Lord reducing that punishment? So they could not understand anything what the Lord intended to do. Darshini Vyadaya Karno Prasarya Shrivataha Satim Satyam Shobhanam Cha. So they had spread out their ears and they were hearing. And these statements, they were truthful, but at the same time, they were also very beautiful. Lagvim Vitaksharam, very concise. Gurubhir Arthe Gahwaram Dushpravesham Agadham Agamya Abhiprayam Gambhiram Durbodha Bahyabhyantara Arthanam Vigahya Vicharya. The words, both their internal and external meanings, were not understandable. Kim Asman Abhinandati? Is he appreciating us? Nindati va? Is he criticizing us? Asmat Kritam Dandam Yavasthapayati Sankochayati va? Is he reinforcing the punishment that we had given? Or is he reducing that? Nirasyati va? Is he cancelling it? Asman va aparadhena yojayati bhrityav va? Is he connecting these servants to our offense? Is he making us a part of the offense that was committed? Prasada adhikyena iti tat chikirshitam na viduhu. Is it because of his great satisfaction? Atra abhinandana pakshaha vyakhyata eva. That the Supreme Lord was appreciated. That has been explained. Nindana Pakshastu Bhagavad Anabhipretaha api Bibhyadbhir Munibhir Atmani Sadbhavitatva Saraswatya cha Datta Avakashatva Evam Vyakhyayaha. Now the reason why they considered that the Lord was uh, punishing them is because the words of the Lord gave them an opportunity to understand it in a particular manner, which is what he's going to explain now. Tatahi etado parshado makhyam iti sarvagyan api munin yat परिचायति स्म तेन रे मूढ़ा मत् पार्षदवपि अभिशपथ एतावदपि बलं तद्वे इति व्यञ्जितम्. So when he is talking to the sages are supposed to be omniscient, and the Supreme Lord is introducing them as, here are my two associates. So that hints that you fools, you have cursed two of my associates. Haven't you used too much of your force? Kadarthikritya mam yad vo bahvakratam atikramam ityatra sanakadi atikramat purvam bhagavat kadarthana abhavat iyam teshu bhagavatah vakroktihi kopavyanjika eva. Ignoring my intentions, they had committed a transgression. But before offending the Kumaras, before that transgression of offense had happened, there was no time when they had ignored the intentions of the Lord. So from this it is understood that this is a crooked statement of Bhagavan, which reveals that he is actually angry with the Kumaras. Vastudastu chaturthi atishaya uktya prathamam mat kadarthanam kritam tatah yushmad atikrama iti karanakariyoho paurva parvya viparyeha bhagavata prayuktaha. Factually speaking, the Lord has what he has done is he has switched the cause and effect. So his idea is that first of all they transgressed me, and then they transgressed. First of all they neglected me, and then they transgressed in their code of conduct towards you. Saiva anumatah asmabhir iti asmad anumatir yada bhavishyat tada yushpatkuta danda na vetsyat. So the idea is that when he says this punishment is approved by me, this is actually a statement by them. Okay. So then the idea is that, let us say I did not give that permission. Then the punishment that you had executed, that would not have taken place. Brahmateja samarthopi hastam ne che matastu me iti agrimokte, because he is going to say something to that effect later on. That even though I can destroy the tejas of the Brahmanas, it is not hastam, something is wrong. It cannot be hastam. What is this hastam? Hantum. I don't desire to destroy. I do not wish to destroy your curse. Tatascha yuyam cha batakarda mulya abhavishyata. Yad brahmanyatayaiva yushman unmadayati iti bhava. So then that would have made all of you feel completely useless. My respect for the Brahmanas, Brahmanyata eva Ishman Adiyanti. It has made all you people mad. That is the implication. Tadhiti atmakritam manti jaya vijayor atmatvena swikarat premadhikyam. Here in text 4, he says that their offense, I consider it to be my offense. So this shows that he has accepted Jaya and Vijay to be his very Atma. Soham bhavadvya upalabdhasu tirtha kirtihi, text 6, iti munishu adaramatram. And in text 6, he is pointing out that he is very, very respectful to all these sages, but only that much. Chindyasu bahumapi iti punaha api tayoho prema aspadata. And in text 6 again, he says, I would even cut off my own arm. So from this, it is understood that he is considering Jay and Vijay to be objects of his love. Yet sevaya iti munishu punarapi adaraha. And in text 7, again, he is showing respect to these sages. So pi bahya eva, that is also external only. Brahmana sevaya eva kim tasya charnarena pavitra. Is it factual? Is it a fact that by only by serving the Brahmanas that the dust of his feet has become pure? Taya eva kim tasya akhila malakshata. And is it that all impurities have been destroyed only because of that? Taya eva kim lakshmihi tam na tyajati iti hetu asatvan. There's no reason to say that factually Lakshmi does not leave him because of that. Naham tatadmi, text 8, ityadav, yuyam brahmana bhojana priyaha kevalam bhojaniya eva. Text 8, when he talks about eating through the mouth of the Brahmanas, he's saying you are all Brahmanas, you simply like to eat, and therefore you simply need to be fed. Only this much. Brahmana mukhena ham bhunje iti khyate lokeshu vistarita dhasam charata iti shleshena brahmana khalu gaur iva adarni pashu buddhitvat eva maddattena gauravena drishyati atu yushmabhir or sukhatatparya kachit madiya paricharya sambhavet. He's saying that people know that I eat through, it is known in the world that I eat through the mouth of the Brahmanas. So this itself, morsel by morsel, means that just as it means that a Brahmana is meant to be honored the way you honor a cow. Because this person simply has the intelligence of an animal, and he is delighted by the respect that I give. So for people like you, it is not possible for you to execute that sort of service, that sort of menial service that is solely devoted to my happiness. Yesham vibharmi, text 9, iti kiriteshu brahmana padarajah dharana eva mama yogama maya ya aishwarya. It is only because of holding the dust of the feet of the Brahmanas on my helmet that there is the Aishwarya caused due to Yogamaya. Tatha tasmayeva heto macharnodakam sarva jagat pavani Ganga iti gauravam upahaseva. And Ganga, which purifies the whole world, is my foot water only because of that. Now this is certainly a joke, because दुहतिः मदीया इति गोब्राह्मणयोः भेदः नास्ति द्वयोरेव मत्तनुत्वाद् इति पुनरपि हास एव. And on top of it, he has clubbed in the Brahmana with the cow. which indicates that there's practically no difference between the two. Both of them are my bodies. So this is another joke. Ye Brahmana, text 11. Iti Brahmananam khalu krodha outputtika eva dharmaha. This conveys that Brahmanas are naturally angry. Tamcha aham mad bhaktascha hasanta eveti. And I certainly make fun of such a person, myself and my devotees. Sahishnuta sudha mad bhaktebhya eva maya datta. The nectar of tolerance is what is given by by me to my devotees. Taya eva aham vashikritah syam. And I am under the control of that tolerance that is there in my devotees. Iti jaya vijaya yoho astu sahishnutaya samprati anudaya mama tatra audasinyam jatam. So now here, because this tolerance did not appear right now in Jaya and Vijaya, therefore right now indifference towards them has come to me. Ataha shapa api vah prabhut, because of which they have been cursed by you. Anyatha tu na eva prabhavishyat. Otherwise, there is no way your curse would have an effect on them. Ataeva ambarishe mama audasinya abhavat durvasasah kopat क्षिप्त jataya api vaiphalyam. Therefore, with regard to Ambarisha, I was not indifferent. And even when Durvasa was angry at him, he had actually used his jata, and he had created a creature to torment Ambarisha, but they turned out to be fruitless. Pratyuta mat swarupa chakra kritaha santapaha sakshan maya brahmanyena dharitam Ambarisha pada patanadikam iti. But on the other hand, the chakra created such a heat. That chakra is nothing but myself, because directly produced by me. And I myself, I am a lover of the Brahmanas, but I am the one who created such a heat for that Durvasa, who was certainly a Brahmana, made him fall at the feet of Ambarisha and so on. And similarly, text 25, which is going to come, that also can be understood in terms of the Lord's criticism towards these sages. So this is the reason why the four Kumaras, they were confused. See, without an Acharya like him, very difficult to understand why these sages were so confused. Because we just read it and we think, okay, what is there to be confused about? He's just saying something. But they interpreted it differently. It should be understood that no one can surpass the Supreme Personality of Godhead in speaking. There is no difference between the Supreme Person and his speeches, for he stands on the absolute platform. The sages tried with wide open ears to understand the words from the lips of the Supreme Lord, but although his speech was very concise and meaningful, the sages could not completely comprehend what he was saying. They could not even comprehend the purport of the speech or what the Supreme Lord wanted to do, nor could they understand whether the Lord was angry or pleased with them. Okay, we'll stop it. It's good. The next time when I'm not sharing the screen, just let me know. Okay. Is there any question here? Okay, no, nothing. Fine.